Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to be reviewing Rise of Fox Hero on the Nintendo Switch. Now this game is presented as a budget 3D action/puzzle platformer, and it sells for a regular price of only $4.99 on the Nintendo Switch eShop. The game is published by two awesome studios, and it has a download size of 295 megabytes. Now, is this game ultimately the story of a rise or a fall of a Fox hero? Well, that's what we're going to try and figure out in today's review. Now, just before we jump in, don't forget that if you are liking the video, hit that like button. Now we are jumping straight into the gameplay and controls today because there really is no storyline presented either in the eShop description or in-game. You are a fox equipped with a sword and shield that needs to jump, fight, and solve puzzles through 4 chapters and 32 levels. That is pretty much all you get. Now the overall gameplay style here is that of a 3D action platformer with a mostly isometric viewpoint. Although you do have control of the camera that can rotate a full 360 degrees. Now the design of the character and the viewpoint might get you thinking that this is a mashup of a Zelda type game meets a 3D Mario world. Well, you will be disappointed because the puzzle solving here is extremely light, feeling more in line with a brain teaser than a real puzzle. And also, many levels not even having anything that would qualify as that. The main goal is to reach the end of each level by platforming through traps, obstacles, and to deal with the occasional enemy. There are, however, 3 optional collectathon style objectives in each level: to break all the barrels, which will reward you with a blue gem, collect all the apples for a red gem, and find the 5 golden coins that is its own reward. There is also a boss fight at the end of each chapter that you must defeat if you want to finish the game. And with that being said, it pretty much sums up the whole gameplay loop here. Now, just to be fair, before I jump into the issues with the gameplay, this is a $5 budget release, so try to keep that in mind. Firstly, I was very disappointed with your shield. It's only aesthetic, with no in-game functionality. And especially when the game description mentions it on multiple occasions that you are equipped with a sword and shield, this makes combat very one-dimensional and bland, with only about 3 different normal enemy types in total. This also bleeds over into severely limiting the boss fights that once again feel one-dimensional, except for the one time where it actually shifts to a chase sequence. Now the level designs do progressively get more complex and challenging, and we're showing promise. However, if you don't try to participate in the collectathon portion of the gameplay, it ends up being extremely short, able to complete most levels in under a minute. This ultimately means that you can blast through the game in under 45 minutes. Now, if you decide to go down the completionist route, you can triple or quadruple that time. But with no reward for your efforts like unlockable cosmetics or the such, I found myself losing interest about a dozen levels in. Now, like I said, this being a $5 game, a lot of this could maybe be forgiven. But my biggest issue is that eventually the game introduces trampoline-like obstacles. But sometimes they bounce you, others they randomly don't, often causing you to fall to your death. Luckily, there aren't too many of these trampolines, or it might have actually ended up costing me a controller. There was also some issues with the frame rate that we will touch upon in the visuals section, but luckily these didn't impact the overall quality of the gameplay. It's unfortunate because the game has some great ideas, but ultimately, the experience for me just presented as shallow. So now for the visuals and sound. First of all, I actually really found the basic design of the character and overall look of the game quite charming. And although there is a lot of asset recycling, color swaps and different biomes do a decent job of breaking up the monotony in a budget game. The frame rate, however stable, was under 30, making the game look choppy. However, after some time, it's like my eyes adjusted and I didn't perceive it as much. And luckily, since it's steady, it didn't affect the gameplay quality, but it was still disappointing. When moving the camera, there's also quite a bit of motion blur. So if you need to adjust it, make sure you do so separately from moving your character, or it could cause some unwanted deaths. Sound-wise, however, I was pleasantly surprised by the musical soundtrack that actually rotated between levels and was nice and uplifting with a pretty lengthy loop. On the other hand, the sound effects were very generic, and the sound of your sword swings became slightly annoying. Overall, once again, for the visuals and sound, it felt like a mixed bag that just missed the mark. So now we get to the verdict, and if this is the first time watching one of my reviews, you can check out my full review scale available in the description of the video below. And in the case of Rise of Fox Hero, I'm going to be giving this game a 4.5, putting it at the high end of a getting rough game. Now the whole time I was reviewing this game, I was trying to keep into context the fact that it's only a $5 budget release on the Nintendo Switch eShop. However, ultimately, I didn't end up having that much fun with the game because it ended up feeling bland. And the fact remains that even at the $5 price point, competition is very fierce on the Nintendo Switch eShop. And as I pointed to in the review, it was a little bit unfortunate because a lot of the design ideas come from a really good place. It's just that putting them all together and the execution was slightly lacking. So now I want to hear from all of you. If you've already picked up the game, do you agree with today's review, or are you maybe going to be picking it up nonetheless? And don't forget, on the way out, if you did like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and click on that notification bell so you know when all my future content comes out. And as usual, I hope I'll see you in my next video.